Welcome to the show. Today we have Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and we're going to be talking about the most important thing in human history, which is working with clubs, staff, and steel mace, natural primal movement patterns.
Excellent. Hello, Summer. Good to be here.
All right, so I've got a few questions prepped for you, Mark. I feel like you definitely have a vast body of knowledge, both from a historical framework and obviously your background in performance training, performance coaching. And so I'm excited to ask you the questions that I have today because I feel like you can pull in both the historical relevance, from an anthropology viewpoint, as well as actual kinesiology behind the performance coaching that you do. So my first question for you. You are training, and you and I are both training at a couple retreats where we're doing 6 days in Richland, and then 7 days in Costa Rica coming up, where we take, modern humans that really don't have a lot of experience with staff fighting, and we put staff in their hands. So I'd love for you to answer the question, why is it important to train these three modalities of staff, club, and mace together for a long period of time, like a 6-day or a 7-day intensive?
There are basics of human movement that almost nobody is doing, even people who go to the gym and people who do primal movement. Oftentimes, people who go to the gym do not have any throwing, casting, or defensive movement patterns, but that is what the human brain and body are designed to do. I talk about this all the time. You have thumbs for a reason. It is so that you can hold onto levers. Levers are staffs, they are swords throughout history, they are spears. And then training for that turns into mace and turns into heavy club. These are the most basic things that humans do, and almost nobody in the fitness world is doing them, and they are certainly not doing all three of them. What we are trying to do is to address the way that the human brain is designed to work. We have heavy club, which forces you to line up your skeleton, to biomechanically align all of the bones, the tendons, and the ligaments in your body and coordinate it with breathing. Think of heavy club as strength training for casting patterns. Even if you're a gym guy, you should still do your squat, your deadlift, and your bench of some type or your get up, but you should also be doing casting patterns with increasingly heavy clubs. For single arm, the goal is 30 pounds for men, 70% of that for ladies, depending on frame size. For two hand, your minimum is 50 pounds for men and 70% of that for ladies. Then we talk about mace. Mace is the thing in between staff and club, where you are forced to have a longer lever, which changes how you line up, changes when you breathe, changes the speed at which all of the coordinated movement happens in your brain. And then the piece that nobody is doing is unchoreographed staff fighting. Your brain is designed to staff fight. There's a lot of stuff out there right now where people are doing a lot of very interesting training, quadruped movement, martial arts, kicking, punching, all of those things. But when you reduce down humans to their most basic thing, what they do is they pick up a stick and they swing it when they try not to get hit in the head. That part is not being taught. So we're trying to teach all of these three things together over a course of time in a way that makes it impossible to not learn. Our goal with this is to change the way people's brain works forever so that their training can change and be informed in a different way forever. By doing this for 6 or 7 days nonstop in the way that we order the training, altering modality every hour, we are tricking the brain into maximizing its learning potential. It's very, very, very nerdy, but just know that it works and just know that when you show up to a seminar like this, it doesn't matter if you are an international armored combat fighter or a grandmother, you will be different forever and you will definitely learn.
Yeah, I would definitely say that working this modality and training with Mark for the past 4 years with the staff work has altered my view on yoga forever. And I've been distilling it down into kind of yoga-based terms. So for those of you that are watching that do have a yoga practice or more curious about the mobility aspect, the warrior positions, warrior one, warrior two, they were designed to actually protect oneself in a battle. And so you never know how long the battle is going to be. You don't know what type of endurance you need. And so I really think of coming out to these 6-day and 7-day retreats as an opportunity to really develop that resilience, that endurance to be able to handle your everyday life as well. So
The way that these are designed, we design these to change the way people's brain works. Fundamentally, neurologically, we're writing new code for the brain that goes what yoga was supposed to be, what martial arts are supposed to be, and we're doing it in a very specific way. We call this neurological load, where we are running an experiment, and we run an experiment 14 times, the same experiment with a different partner, and then we will add one step, and then we will run an experiment for the number of people who are in the seminar. 16 people, that means you'll run the same experiment 16 times. This is a core idea in science where you run an experiment and you repeat the experiment until the answer averages out to get a consistent answer, and then you change one variable, and then you run an experiment. This is the same way that they originally used to brute force calculate like thermodynamics, like pressure, temperature graphs, where you would run it and you would change something and you would run it. And that's how they created the original understanding of science. We're doing the same thing, but for human movement. We're saying the most important thing in all of human movement is to learn how to not get hit. Some people argue that it's running or jumping or throwing. I argue that the most important thing is not getting hit and then responding and then running. So running to or from. But if you're injured and you can't run, then you should not just focus on running. You should focus on the biomechanical alignment of not getting hit and then learning to hit back and then running. So it's a slightly different perspective, but we do this all as super science, where we're just repeating experiments until we alter the structure of your brain so that you can't forget what you have learned.
it's pretty brilliant. And every year, every retreat, we've been doing these retreats for this is our 4th year doing them. Mark and I sit down with the master itinerary, we tweak things, we refine things. And so every time you come, you're not coming to the same retreat that we had last year. There are new things added, new tasks, new neural load training techniques that we're implementing to make it better and to make you leave with more information, more experience, more performance coaching that you can apply for the rest of your year.
So we do not have like 4 hours of yoga in the morning, then 4 hours of staff at night. We sit down and we plan this minute by minute, and we'll have 45 minutes of staff as an intro. Then we will jump to a version of yoga with the steel mace. Then we will jump to heavy club. This is designed to balance how your brain is working. The goal is to never have you get bored. When people get bored, they stop listening and they stop learning. Once people start to change their focus and you see them looking off in the distance, our goal is to move. So we plan this minute by minute, second by second, across the course of 6 or 7 days. And then we meet up as coaches. And at the end of every section, so at lunchtime on day 1, we go back through minute by minute and we tweak it to make it better next time. And then we alter the plan slightly, 5%, going forward. So we have a giant minute by minute layout across 6 days. We have it based on all previous seminars that we've done. We have what we think will work, and then we adapt to the people who show up so that we have more armored combat fighters show up, or we have more yogis show up. It can change a little bit the order. The same material is there, but we're always optimizing how we communicate that data, because that's what a coach should be doing. A coach should always be optimizing the learning experience to guarantee that everybody is learning 100% of the material.
So I often get some questions about the staff. So I really want to dive into some of the common questions I get. Oftentimes people wonder, do I need staff experience to show up at a 6-day training retreat?
You do not need staff to show up at a 6-day training retreat. What you should have is Mace and Club experience. Mace and Club experience will tell you how to hold on to things. If you've run a Mace or a Club program, then you are primed to learn staff. There is no other way to learn the staff that we are teaching, because we are not teaching staff forms, like you might learn in Shaolin Kung Fu, or you might learn in some version of karate. We are only teaching Udaloop, observe, orient, decide, act, responsive staff training. The most important thing you can do to prepare for that is heavy club, single arm, or two-hand program, and steel mace vinyasa. Steel mace vinyasa, lightweight, but in the stepping position, warrior one and warrior two, and moving through single leg will develop your basic coordinated skill, and you will already understand the key points. If you do staff and you do club, then you will have the endurance and the muscles in your arm, in your grip, in your upper body, and your legs, and your breathing to endure the learning process of staff. Staff, we've had people from international armored combat fighters to literally grandmothers show up. And as long as they have done some prep work, they will survive. Because the way that we organize the training, you're constantly swapping partners every maybe 4 minutes. Some partners are difficult, some partners are easy, and we're constantly balancing the load that people are experiences, both mentally and physically, in order to optimize the learning experience for everybody. Literally, we've never had anybody fall out of staff training from armored combat fighter to grandmother ever, because that's my job as a coach. That's Summer's job as a coach, is to actually understand people's limits and then alter things second by second in order to make sure everybody's getting what they need. So do staff, do club, be prepared. That's it.
And you'll often see there's some people, for example, females who have not often been given a tool or given a weapon. There's a moment sometimes with some female bodied individuals where they might feel a little bit of resistance against being violent. And they've never been given permission to actually swing a staff at someone or actually protect themselves. So that first day, we're slowing things down. We're really working on being a good partner, taking care of each other. So you're in no danger of getting hurt. I just want to reiterate that because I think a lot of people get intimidated by the staff. We're going slow. We're working on timing. We're working on being a good partner. And Mark is making sure that everyone is safe. If somebody does looks unsafe, he will spot it before anything happens and make sure the entire group regresses, which I think is really, really awesome.
Yeah, nobody does not learn by doing a regression. You just learn something else better. So the first thing we do first day is always I work with everybody individually through a series of exercises so I can see how people's brains respond to stress. So within the first hour, I know exactly how everybody will respond over the course of the next 6 days, because that's my job as coach. And then all of the coaching candidates also work with everybody so that everybody understands what we need to pay attention to with each individual person. Nobody is ever left behind and nobody is ever really in danger, because we are good at our jobs. We can control the situations and see problems before they develop and then alter things so that everybody continues to learn optimally. The most important thing is that we see what's happening, we observe it, and there are definitely people who have never had permission to defend themselves or swing staffs. This is something that I will harp on until the end of days. Women should be doing this class. Every woman should be doing a class like this, because in our modern society, people are waiting for somebody to come help them. You should not wait for people to come help you. You should learn how to stop somebody from hitting you and then learn how to hit back as hard as possible. This is a very important skill. Very important skill. The smaller you are, the more important the skill is. And this should be the basis of all your athleticism, because it optimizes how your brain works so you understand all future movements. There are plenty of very in shape people out there who have never learned to respond. This is what we call Udaloop. Observe something going wrong. Orient your body to either absorb force or retranslate force out. Decide to not get hit or to hit back, and then act on it. This is a very specific neurological learning pattern. And there's this idea that if you're in good shape, it'll just happen. That is not true at all. You have to optimize the way your brain works in order to get people to express their greatest amount of athletic power that they can. And we should all start with personal defense of self and then build out from there. No matter what type of sport you play, Doesn't matter if you play a sport. This is something that you should design your brain to do because it will inform your movement forever, especially with club, mace, running. You will give yourself intent. This is called intention. If you really want to get weird, there's lots of yoga words for this. There's lots of martial arts words for this, but you're learning to intend to not get hurt, and you're learning to intend to express power.
Absolutely. And the OODA loop specifically does help you with getting out of fight or flight or freeze. You actually get an opportunity to safely express power. And so, in that OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act, oftentimes, if a woman or a person hasn't trained the coordination patterns and trained the timing and trained to actually be able to know what to do, in that decision point, we freeze. And that's when people get hurt. And so I really like this training modality to help people with nervous system regulation. It's super just realistic and applicable to everyday life to be able to have these skills to protect yourself.
This
Mark,
is just the basics of human movement. Like everybody should get beyond freeze. Almost 99% of society, as I see it right now, goes into freeze, having been a coach for, God, almost 30 years now. The first thing that you see is people freeze and their brain gets stuck in a loop because it doesn't know what to do. If you get stuck in a loop, the thing that you need to do is slow training down and then allow people to make a decision. And then what we're doing over the course of 6 days is we're allowing people to make somewhere between 20 and 25,000 decisions. This is a classic math idea. Instead of getting you to decide to do something one time, you have to do it 2 times. If you're a science guy, two points on a graph is a line, right? 3 points is a trend. 1,000 points is statistically relevant. 20,000 data points is beyond statistical relevance, and it means that you can never unlearn what you have learned. So we slow decisions down and we watch physiologically what athletes are doing. When people are about to freeze, their corners of their eye twitch, they tend to lean back, they go rigid. All we do at that point is we slow it down, we realign their body, we allow their brain more time to make the choice, and we get them to make the choice we want them to make. We want people to choose to not get hurt. Most important thing, don't let people hurt you. We slow it down until you can decide to not get hurt, and then we repeat that choice until you will always decide to not get hurt. Then we decide to express power. It's a very simple idea. Nobody teaches it this way, which I think is horrific. I think everybody should teach this way. And we're getting rid of things like boxing gloves or shin guards. Like I love Muay Thai, I love BJJ. I'll talk about these things all day. But the most important thing you can learn is no gloves, no pads, no mouth guards, and grab weapons. That is the most basic thing that humans should do. And we want to build out from there. And then you can apply it to your Muay Thai and your BJJ and anything else you want to apply it to forever.
it is great fun. By day 2 or 3, you'll be craving the staff. You'll look forward to it in the morning. It's always the first thing we do. You start getting used to the clanking of the staffs hitting together as like a way to kind of start your day. So yeah, it is definitely intrinsically reinforcing. A couple quick questions around programming. A lot of our athletes are oftentimes self-coaching from our online courses or our YouTube. If there was maybe 1 or 2 programs that you could recommend for your athletes to prep for this the 6-day retreat coming up in Richland in June or Costa Rica end of the year in New Year's, what would you recommend?
If you are just starting now and you're going to prepare for a month and a half away, I would tell people to do my 2-hand BJ1 program. We call it standing game. It is 5 exercises repeated 4 times through. Even our programs are neurological learning patterns that allow you to get the optimum learning in the minimum amount of time. Run that 3 days a week, and then I would have you also run Summer's uh, Steel Mace Vinyasa program, because now you can train twice a day for a short period of time, 20 minutes, and you can start to really prep your brain before you get there. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to try it. And then your hands are going to start used to holding on to levers, and you're going to learn to accelerate and stop. And your hands are going to start to get smart, and everything is total body all the time. And I would tell you to try and do BJJ Program 1, that is the short version of my two-handed club program. It's got 3 levels, it's 15 movements, and you can start to work your way through that right away. And then summer's program, best thing you can possibly do at this point. Long term, you should be doing a two-handed club program. That would be BJJ1 or Basis of Strength, the big version of BJJ1, which is 7 levels. It's huge. And single arm club. Single arm heavy club, two hand heavy club are two separate things. They are isolating different parts of your neurological system. Think about two-handed club as being closer to gym training. It's got squats, it's got presses, it's got deadlift patterns, it's got inside and outside rotation. Single arm is separating one side of your body from the other side of your body. If you're thinking about a book called Anatomy Trains, we're training the muscle slings and the integrated strength across the left and the right side of your body. When we are doing our staff training, we do everything equally, left and right side. So you would like to prep your left and your right side. If you do Summers Steel Mace Vinyasa program, you will do the same thing. You will do an equal amount of left and right side by time, because that is important. No strong side. First thing that we always see when people come to any seminar is that 99% of people are not ambi turners. If you ever watched the movie Zoolander, they talk about ambi turners, people who can only turn one way. When people go under stress, you'll notice they only try to go one way. So our job is to design drills that force people to step back with each leg or step forward with each leg and turn their head a different direction. If you do Summers training, you will start to prep that right away. And so you won't have the neurological lag of us slowing things down to force you to try to do that in staff. You're going to do it anyway, but it helps to do all of those programs beforehand. BJJ1, Summers, Steel Mace Vinyasa. If you have time, single arm heavy club.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So we're gearing up for a couple seminars. I just want to kind of give you a lay of the land of what we include in seminars, because we want to make sure we take all of the stress off of you so that you can just show up and train. So generally you're going to have airport transport to the venue, to the location. You're going to have 3 meals a day. We always make sure the venues have a lot of protein because most of our athletes require a lot of protein. So we're adding in extra protein for Costa Rica and also for Richland. And we usually have an offsite excursion or 2 planned out, and we purposely put them usually on around day 3 and 5 when people are getting gassed. We want to have you have a lower intensity day. So we strategically put some offsite adventure so you can kind of explore the area, get your brain in a new environment, and take in some of the different historical features. We actually have in Richland a replica of the Stonehenge that we'll be going to, as well as there's a
Super
local
excited.
as well for that. So we're going to be going to the top of a mountaintop. We're also staying on a huge 20-acre property overlooking the Columbia River and training outside for the entire 6-day training retreat.
Is that 20 or 200?
I believe it's 20 by 20, but it used to be a 200-acre farm. It's one of the largest farms in Washington State and even on the West Coast. Apparently Bill
Okay.
bought a chunk of it. So, but it's still beautiful. It's right on the Columbia, and we purposely want to bring in some of the farm tools as well, so that we have like we're gonna have fire pits outside every night, and some other ATVs and things to kind of cruise around the farmland. So just know your food will be taken care of, your transport's taken care of. You don't need to purchase anything extra when you're there. We just want you to be able to be well supported to train roughly about 8 hours a day, except on those 2 offsite days when we go somewhere else and we have kind of a down regulation day. And then in Costa Rica, they're a yoga venue. It's an eco retreat center. So we added in extra grass-fed beef and extra protein because they traditionally do a lot of fish, but they're pulling in extra protein for us. And we're steps away from the beach. So I'm particularly excited about Costa Rica because of the terrain. Sand is going to be a totally different ball game. We're going to adapt things a lot for folks, and we'll be doing some steel mace out there. I imagine definitely some staff, possibly some clubs out on the beach as well. But we do have a sprung floor enclosed studio that is surrounded by jungle and Costa Rican sort of landscape. It's a private retreat center. There's only 20 spots, and we have a little pool on site. We've got, all the food you could imagine. We're going to be going off site, doing some waterfall adventures and some other things. But we do purposely plan the retreat to take care of everything you need so that you can just show up and train. So Mark, my question for you regarding the retreat experience, because I think a lot of people in our industry, they have a retreat and they're really just selling the experience and they're bringing people out on different, like kind of like acting as a tour guide. Our retreats are very different in that you're training 8 hours a day. Most of the days you're coming to actually learn information, and it really is a form of personal development. So I'm going to open the floor for you, Mark. How do you feel like our 6-day and 7-day training retreats in Richland and in Costa Rica this year will be a form of personal development?
In the modern world, we don't really have rites of passage anymore. So many things we know so much about ahead of time because we have phones. Most people aren't getting out of their comfort zone. I like to design these retreats as hero's journeys. If you're going to think about this in a classic Joseph Campbell kind of way, the whole goal is to have a call to adventure, what we call a call to learning, where you have to try to prepare yourself ahead of time. And then you have to overcome the thing that says, don't sign up, save your money. You can learn it all on your own. We want you to answer the call to adventure. And then our job is to create an experience which will make you forever changed. You answer the call to adventure, and then we put these things someplace interesting. We can do that a 2-day in a gym as a prep for these bigger ones, but these bigger ones are in more adventurous locations because it means you're going to go someplace you've never gone, something that you have to do for adventure. You're going to meet people you've never met, and you're going to learn things you didn't know you didn't know. All of this is answering the call to adventure and going someplace, going through a series of experiences that are designed to permanently alter the way that you think about things, and then returning home a brand new individual. This is classic Joseph Campbell. You can look this up, the cycle of storytelling, and we design our programs specifically this way because it should be a little bit uncomfortable, but our job is to guarantee the learning experience. Nobody gets out of this without being able to answer every question that I ask 100%. I've been to, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 seminars. I go to several a year, whether they're motorcycle seminars or sword seminars or tactical firearms seminars. And what I want is to guarantee that you come back forever changed. And that means personal interaction. That means we talk and we answer questions. We don't talk at you, we talk with you. We do it in a place that engages the way your brain works, and we do it in environments that change just a little bit over time so that your brain is more susceptible to the learning process. We get really, really nerdy about this. And me and Summer have been talking about this stuff, I don't know, for what, like 15 years before we even started doing our own seminars. What do we like about the way that people teach? What didn't we learn? What do we wish we would have learned? And how do we guarantee that experience for people who are coming? I just want the world to be a better place. And the way that I accomplish that task is by making sure that everybody gets what they want from our seminars. I think the world is better if more people understand these concepts. So we get really, really nerdy about making sure that this happens and putting our seminars in places like Costa Rica. We've had them in Thailand before. We've had them on islands off the coast of Vancouver. We like to change these environments because it changes the way people think about things, and it makes people answer the call to adventure in their own life more every time. We've had one guy come to what, like 9, 10 seminars, and that guy's just, his whole life is different. He's absolutely super badass now, and he's up for anything all the time. And the goal isn't just for your life to get better in training, it's to get better in all regards.
I really enjoy watching the team mentality. The athletes kind of take care of each other. People connect. Mark and I are often, eating lunch, eating dinner with you guys. We're hanging out. We're like getting to know our community. We're really invested in you guys as athletes. We want to develop relationships, talk about things, outside of training too in the mealtime. And so These are things that we wish that we had coming up, you know, in the world of coaching that we didn't have. Like our coaches would separate, and we're really into like making sure the group has this team mentality and there's no hierarchy. There's no like, we're the coaches, you're the student. There's everyone's blended. And I think that really it changes the environment, I would say. I don't know if you have any feedback on that.
My favorite was when we were in Thailand and we had somebody who showed up was a little bit adversarial about doing staff. They just didn't understand why the way we were teaching staff was necessary. And they asked me a question like, how can you guarantee we're going to learn? And I went through the number of decisions that they would make on average per minute, multiplied it across per hour, across all the learning things, and said, you'll probably get 21,000 learning opportunities across this amount of time. And that student was so shocked that we knew the number of learning opportunities on average that they would have, that they were blown away. They become one of our best students ever because nobody had ever talked to them that way before. Nobody had ever engaged with their question in that way before, where we had a second by second answer, the average number of opportunities across the number of drills. And that's what we want. We want people to engage with us, to ask us questions, because it makes us better coaches. And if we don't have an answer, we're going to come up with one. We've been doing this a long time. So we have a second by second answer for almost everything at this point. But we want to learn as well. And when people come and ask us questions and engage with us, we don't want to remove ourselves from that process. We, as coaches, want to get into that process to make sure that we're helping people the way that they need to be helped and the way that maybe they don't know they need to be helped. The most important thing is that we don't separate ourselves, because every coach I've ever had has treated themselves as vastly above us, the students. And I just don't think that that's a good way to learn. I think that we should all be learning together.
Absolutely. It's a different form of leadership, but it brings the entire group energy up. You know, if there's somebody that is less able-bodied and somebody that's like a hardcore athlete, the whole entire group lifts up everyone else in the group because of this style of leadership that we've just implemented. And it's pretty seamless, but I'm excited to share with you guys. So my final question for you, Mark, what would you say to somebody that's like considering coming to Richland or coming to Costa Rica at the New Year's, but you know, maybe they haven't quite arrived at that decision where it's like, all right, I'm ready to rock. What would you say to them?
I would tell them to come. The most important thing that I ever did in my life was go to an RKC seminar in 2005. That seminar cost $4,000 in 2005, which is a huge amount. It's like $12,000 today. And I didn't have the money for it, and I was not prepared. And I went to that 3-day seminar back in 2005, and the way that and they taught 200 people, it was not personal, but it was well thought out. And it changed my entire life forever, because I went from being just a kung fu guy or a biochemical engineer or a guy who worked at 24-hour fitness way back in the day. And it changed the way I thought about everything. And it allowed me to work on this idea of you can get people in shape and you can guarantee progress in 10 minutes, twice a week. And I learned that, and I've been refining that idea, and now I've refined it to an insanely high level. But had I not done that, I would not be the person I am today. My whole life would be different, and it would not be nearly this cool. Now I'm a professional coach. I travel all over the world. I worked on movies for 5 years, $200 million movies. I've been all over the world. And it is specifically because I answered that call to learning, call to adventure, call to learning. Take a leap, figure out what you don't know, be uncomfortable. Once you do it once, then you go back. I don't know how many RKCs I went to, probably at least 6 over the years. I would go back at least once a year, and I would learn more, and I would get better, and I would make an idiot out of myself. And it didn't matter, but I got better and better and better. The same thing is true across all things. And I set myself a goal at that point because it was so life-changing for me that I would do 2 seminars a year every year for the rest of my life. Already this year, I've already got my 2 in. I went to SoCal Supermoto, which I have set a goal for myself. Supermoto, I ride a motorcycle. I should learn how to not die better. And years ago, with one of my stunt buddies from a movie, we decided that we would go 10 times to this class. And I think I'm at 7 now, he's at 8. I still got 3 to go on that goal, but every time I go, I learn something, I break harder, I turn better, and I get more survivable so that I can do more adventurous things. Like you get better at riding a motorcycle across the country. Doesn't matter what seminar you go to, doesn't have to be ours, but you need to answer this call personally for adventure and for learning. Horseback riding seminars, archery seminars, find anything, sewing seminars, pattern making seminars, go to a cobbler class, learn to sew on your own boots better, right? Like make your life better by going someplace that's a 2 or 3 day class, asking those people what they think is important, listening to them, attempting to do it, and then that will change the way your brain works forever. So if you're not yet all the way in, I would encourage you to be in. Doesn't have to be our seminar. Go anywhere. I don't care. Go to a motorcycle seminar, horseback riding, Appalachian Trail survival seminar. One of the best seminars I ever took was a 2 week backwoods survival seminar. 3 people in the seminar. Nobody wanted to do it. They gave you a little tiny, what was that, Swiss Army knife? And that was it. And that was 2 weeks. You built your own shelter. You cooked your own food. You gathered food. You ate it. No pots, no pans, right? But it changes the way your brain works. And now you're like, what do I really need? Oh, look at this little knife. I'll go that way. I'll be fine. But altering the way your brain works is important. And there are people all over the world who specialize in this idea, and you should go do it.
And I'll tag on to that, my 2 cents on it as well, because as you were saying that, I had like 10 ideas, but I'll narrow it down to just 1 or 2. So I think a lot of people don't really give themselves time to be outside of their comfort zone or outside of their normal environment. And I think the biggest gift that you can give to yourself is to give yourself 6 to 7 days of focused training where you're not doing your everyday tasks. Because we kind of get into these habits, of giving to everyone else. For I can speak to myself as a, busy parent or mom, oftentimes taking care of a lot of other people. Your cup is going to be so much more filled when you give yourself 6 days of focused time that's just for you. And then the secondary piece, having time where you actually aren't on your screen. Like you're setting your computer down. If you tend to work 40 hours a week on a computer or a laptop, you get to actually give your brain a break from being off of devices for a full 6 to 7 days, which is hugely rejuvenating for the nervous system, for your eyes, for your mind, to just be out doing real things with your body, the things that your body was designed to do. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for being on. I always appreciate talking with you. I feel like we always dive a little deeper in these interviews. Thanks so much.
We are huge nerds, Summer, and that's the good thing. Being a nerd is a good thing. Get good at something, figure out how to make the world a better place. Most important thing you can do.